The airbase was calm that morning as golden sunlight spread across the runway and the faint hum of engines filled the cool air. The pilots were preparing for another mission, and among them was Lieutenant Sarah Caldwell, a quiet, disciplined young woman who had joined the squadron only a few months earlier. To most of her team she was simply another rookie, skilled enough to fly but too quiet to notice. Nobody realized that behind her calm blue eyes was a record sealed in secrecy. She had been part of covert missions under the codename Spectre, a legend whispered among a few senior officers who knew she could fly through radar undetected, but now she preferred silence. She sat in the corner during briefings, watching maps, weather charts, and radar patterns. Her instincts noticed something strange: radar interference in the east sector, but when she spoke her commander smiled and brushed it off, saying the enemy was asleep and there was nothing to worry about. She said nothing more, but her mind didn't rest as the jets lifted into the sky. An hour later the formation sliced through white clouds and blue horizons. Radio chatter was light laughter mixed with confidence, and yet Sarah kept scanning her radar. She saw faint blips vanishing as soon as they appeared. Her heartbeat quickened. She adjusted the radar range and saw them again, faster, closer. She called it out, but the commander laughed gently, telling her not to worry. Seconds later the world turned into chaos from the glare of the sun. Enemy fighters, dove-like hawks, missiles streaking through the air. One jet exploded in flames. Alarms screamed through the radio. The commander's voice tried to regain order, but another missile hit and silence followed. The squadron was leaderless, surrounded and confused. Sarah's training took over. Her voice came steady over the comms, ordering the team to form on her position. At first no one obeyed. They were in panic, but the calm authority in her tone made them listen. She led them through a valley, flying barely meters above the ground, evading radar locks and missile trails. The enemy chased them hard, but Sarah's movements were beyond belief. She twisted, turned, dropped altitude, and climbed in impossible angles, guiding her team like she had flown the terrain 1,000 times. Every move she made was perfect. She timed countermeasures exactly before each missile closed in and the enemy began to lose their edge. The pilots following her could hardly believe that the quiet woman they ignored was now their lifeline. The air battle raged on. Smoke and fire filled the sky as Sarah gave commands, predicting enemy moves before they happened. Her mind processed everything: radar, speed, altitude, fuel, and distance with mechanical precision. Her jet took a hit, the wing shuddered and alarms flashed, but she kept control, performing a flip to make an enemy overshoot and then destroyed him with a perfect missile shot. Her squadron started believing in her completely. She led them through storms of bullets and fire, creating patterns of survival that only an ace could design. She told them when to climb, when to drop, and when to break apart. The dogfight stretched into the second hour, turning into a dance of death and skill, but slowly they began to win, each one of them realizing that she wasn't just saving them, she was fighting destiny itself. Then her radar picked up something larger, a bomber formation heading straight for their base. It would wipe out thousands if it got through. She made her decision with no hesitation, ordering her squadron to return to base. They protested, but she insisted, saying it was an order, she would handle it alone, and before anyone could stop her she accelerated her damaged jet toward the horizon. Her engines screamed under pressure, her fuel was low and warning lights blinked red, but she didn't care. Through the haze of clouds she spotted the bomber and its escorts, 6 enemy fighters guarding it. She climbed higher and then dived at supersonic speed, firing her guns, taking one out instantly. Missiles locked on her. She released flares, twisted through the sky, and countered every strike. One by one another escort fell, then another. The bomber's turrets fired relentlessly, bullets tearing through the sky. One round tore her right wing, but she pressed on, thinking of her father, a pilot who had once told her that courage was not the absence of fear but the decision to fly through it. She locked her final missile on the bomber's engines, knowing the explosion might consume her too. She fired. The missile hit the bomber in a thunderous blast that turned the sky into fire. Her jet spun out of control and she ejected at the last moment. The force ripped her through the air, parachute opening just before she vanished into the clouds. Debris rained around her. She landed deep behind enemy enemy lines injured but alive. Using her training, she evaded patrols, crawled through forests, and activated her beacon when rescue finally came. Hours later, she was barely conscious when the helicopter crew asked if she took down the bomber. She whispered, "Mission accomplished." When she returned to base, the surviving pilots saluted her in silence. The general approached, calling her Spectre, and she smiled, saying, "Just needed some air, sir." Her identity was finally revealed. The mysterious ace who had vanished years ago had saved an entire squadron from destruction. Her story spread across every unit, her legend becoming a symbol of courage, precision, and silent strength. She continued training young pilots, never boasting, never reminding anyone of what she did. She simply guided them with quiet wisdom. Years later, when her name was declassified, the world learned about Lieutenant Sarah "Spectre" Caldwell, the woman who had turned certain defeat into victory. Her story inspired generations, and even after retirement, she would sometimes speak softly over the radio during training flights, guiding young pilots through turbulence and storms. Her voice calm and clear, the same way it was that day in battle, reminding them that true heroes don't seek glory, they just rise when the sky begins to fall.